The last memory of Leanne I have is when she was setting off to go shopping and she kissed me on the cheek and she laughed because she got lipstick on me again. And she was always doing that. And I sort of went, oh, and rubbed it off. And she walked out the back door, she just said bye. And I said bye back and I said, don't be late for your dinner. And she was gone.
On November 26, 2000, at exactly 3:36 p.m., a CCTV camera captured 15-year-old Sarah Whitehouse and her best friend, 16-year-old Leanne Tiernan, exiting a shopping center in Leeds. The girls caught the bus back to Bramley and parted ways. Shortly after, Sarah dialed Leanne's number, but she got no response. Eventually, Sarah called Leanne's mother, Sharon, and asked to speak to Leanne. Sharon told Sarah that Leanne wasn't home yet. She tried to call her daughter's number, but it kept ringing. Leanne never picked up. So where was Leanne, and what happened to her? Leanne Tiernan was born in Bramley to Michael and Sharon Hawkhead on September 27, 1984. Following their divorce, Leanne maintained a good relationship with her father. Leanne and her older sister Michelle lived in Leeds with their mother while their father remained close. On a sunny Sunday, November 26, 2000, she returned home from church with her grandmother to prepare for her shopping trip with Sarah. Black trousers, a black and white ribbed polo neck jumper, and black ankle boots were worn by Leanne. She donned her blue jacket. She kissed her grandmother, tied her hair in her favorite French twist, and headed to Sarah. The two took a Leeds downtown bus. After shopping, they took the bus home to Bramley in the late afternoon. The two friends got off the bus at 4:50 p.m. and walked to Sarah's house before parting ways. Sarah watched Leanne approach Hockley Jill. She was told not to take an unlit shortcut through a wooded wasteland at night by her mother. Leanne felt safe walking on the public path because it was daylight. She should have walked home in 20 minutes. Sarah was surprised to find Leanne hadn't returned when she called her home at 5:20 p.m. Sharon immediately called Leanne's phone to find out where she was but got no response. She tried the number repeatedly. After several rings, the phone was turned off.
It was actually Sarah wanting to speak to Leanne. So she says, oh, she's not back yet. So I phoned her mobile and it rang on about 20 times and it just cut off.
Sharon was devastated. Where had Leanne gone? That night, she reported her daughter missing to the police at 7 p.m. The family got flashlights from the church that night to go search. Calls for Leanne were heard throughout the night and early morning, but there was no reply and no Leanne. Detective Superintendent Chris Gregg and the West Yorkshire Police launched an urgent search for the missing teenager. The search area was incredibly challenging, featuring over 700 houses, expansive open spaces, dense woodlands, winding canals, deep drainage shafts, and numerous wells. Numerous locations where a young person could remain concealed. They faced significant challenges, yet the resolve to ensure Leanne's safe return was unwavering. Helicopters hovered above while officers in uniforms and search dogs combed through the streets, meticulously checking each house. The waste collection in the area was halted to safeguard any possible evidence. A week had passed and the search for Leanne continued with no leads in sight. With the assistance of her 19-year-old sister Michelle and her best friend Sarah, investigators pieced together Leanne's final moments. Michelle donned the identical outfit that Leanne had on and resolutely traversed the same path her sister walked when she vanished.
I think we were clutching at straws, but we were kind of hoping that she had run away and nothing bad had happened, even though it was so out of character for her.
When the story broke, numerous witnesses stepped up to inform investigators that they had spotted a man with a black and tan dog in the Hockley Jill area, merely an hour before she disembarked from the bus on her way home. A composite sketch was created and made public. The individual stood at 5'8", possessing a stocky physique and had a round face that could potentially bear scars. A figure emerged, clad in a black woolen hat and 3/4 length waterproof jacket and jeans that bore the marks of wear and neglect. The authorities disclosed the details to the community. The reports flooded in rapidly. Every individual with a canine companion found themselves under scrutiny. Ultimately, 70 individuals with dogs were pinpointed, but all would ultimately be ruled out as suspects. As the investigation hit a standstill, the case gradually faded from the spotlight, yet the community remained steadfast in their support for the family, determined to ensure Leanne's story remained alive and prominent. A father of 3 from Leeds, Sean Clark, became deeply invested in the case and announced a £10,000 reward for any information that could help locate the missing teenager, Leanne Tiernan. Iceland Foods, a supermarket chain, featured Leanne's image and information on milk cartons distributed across its stores throughout the country. Posters and advertisements flooded the town, showcasing an image of Leanne in her uniform alongside the haunting question, "Have you seen me?" Authorities gathered numerous leads and reported sightings of her in locations stretching all the way to Doncaster and Blackpool, yet every lead and reported sighting brought them no nearer to uncovering her whereabouts. Leanne's parents remained in the spotlight, making heart-wrenching, emotional appeals to the public, pleading for any information that could lead to their daughter's whereabouts. The atmosphere was heavy with sorrow during the holiday season for all those who cherished her. Her father placed gifts beneath the Christmas tree, holding on to hope for his absent daughter. A CD by Westlife purchased by Michelle for Leanne sat untouched and unopened.
There were times when we were feeling pretty much down that she may have been taken and killed, but we really couldn't let ourselves or allow ourselves to believe that. Every day when you don't know, you wake up and wonder, is she going to be coming home today?
As time passes, the quest for answers continues. Ultimately, over 2,000 residencies, storage structures, and ancillary buildings were meticulously examined in Leanne's vicinity and along the path they suspect she traveled after her shopping excursion.
We had to calculate what we would have expected the route to be that she walked, and we call that the red route. The houses along that red route were searched, some 1,200 houses.
Authorities gathered DNA samples from more than 140 men in the vicinity and carried out search warrants at multiple sites across the city of Leeds. Still, they remained far from discovering the location of the young girl. Her family and friends clung to hope, yearning for her safe return. On August 20th, 2001, 9 months after Leanne's disappearance, a grim discovery in the woods extinguished any hope of finding the teenager alive.
Telephone call from the police to say that they'd found her body in North Yorkshire.
On August 20th, 2001, while Leanne's classmates returned to school to collect their GCSE results, Mark Bisson was walking his 2 dogs in Lindley Woods, a dense forest just beyond the North Yorkshire country line, when he came upon what appeared to be a pile of garbage. What was uncovered was a floral duvet. He carefully untied the twine securing the duvet and discovered what appeared to be the outline of a body encased in garbage bags.
I saw a sock and I realised then that we'd actually found a body.
Authorities arrived on the scene and meticulously removed the duvet along with 9 heavy-duty green garbage bags, uncovering a fully clothed body beneath.
I got the call in the afternoon, and I was told that a girl's body had been found at Lindley Woods. My immediate thoughts were, is this Leanne?
The hands were bound tightly at the back with 3 yellow cable ties. The leather dog collar, once fastened tightly around the neck, was carefully loosened as investigators removed the black garbage bag that obscured the face, revealing the decomposing visage of a young woman.
At the time when they first found out, they couldn't really tell us exactly how she died, but they said that it looked like strangulation.
This wasn't the first instance of a body being discovered in that area. In 1992, the remains of Yvonne Fitt, a sex worker from Bradford, was discovered in that very vicinity. The perpetrator remains at large. The investigators were anxious that this case would not conclude similarly. Through the analysis of fingerprints, authorities successfully identified the remains as belonging to the missing teenager, Leanne Tiernan. An examination would uncover that she had met her end through strangulation with a plastic cable tie. The investigation into the disappearance had taken a dark turn, now pointing towards homicide. Investigators believed strongly that the killer hailed from the area. Leanne's body was discovered approximately 16 miles from the location where she was last observed. The yellow cable ties that were used to restrain her hands originated from the British postal system, specifically utilized by the Royal Mail or Parcel Force. Ultimately, the green garbage bags that enveloped Leanne originated from Morrison's, a prominent grocery store chain, 2 of which were located nearby. DNA samples were gathered from relatives, acquaintances, and registered sex offenders in the vicinity, as investigators sought a potential match. They meticulously carried out a fingertip search of the thick woodland where Leanne's body was interred, extending their efforts to encompass an area of 20,000 square meters. On September 28th, the day following what was meant to be Leanne's 17th birthday, she was laid to rest. Sanford Methodist Church, located in Bramley, Leeds, was packed with hundreds of mourners, with many spilling out into the streets, marking a somber gathering for Leanne, who had been baptized there as a newborn. In a poignant tribute to her life and lively essence, everyone donned bright, eye-catching hues. Leanne's mother, sister, and best friend, along with other friends, solemnly carried the white coffin into the humble church. A floral tribute inscribed with "Night Night Baby" was brought into the service, accompanied by the haunting melody of November Rain from the iconic American rock band Guns N' Roses. The group gathered, voices raised in harmony, belting out the beloved hymns of the youth, such as "Give me oil in my lamp," and "Ye shall go out with joy."
Sort of imagine her, how she used to look when she was curled up in bed. But she was always cold. I always had to go in and rub her back when she went to bed to warm her up a bit. It just sort of, I don't know, just something that keeps you a little bit closer to her. She was lovely. For my little baby.
Among the crowd stood Detective Superintendent Chris Gregg, who had spearheaded the search for Leanne, driven by the hope of bringing her back to her family. As he observed the coffin being transported to the nearby Hilltop Cemetery for her final resting place, his determination to uncover the identity of her killer and ensure they faced justice intensified more than ever. Authorities remained perplexed regarding the location where Leanne's remains were discovered. The location had undergone extensive scrutiny. Her body exhibited no indications of having decomposed for 9 months. Her hair remained styled in the same ponytail, secured with the same hair tie and clips as when she vanished. The medical examiner's analysis and her cardiac tissue revealed a chilling truth. She was murdered on the very day of her abduction, and her body remained hidden in cold storage for an extended period. A few weeks prior to her discovery at the dump, the murderer had tried to conceal her remains by abandoning her in a public dumping ground, wrapped in a duvet. The murderer probably anticipated that her remains would end up in the landfill. He was mistaken. The most intriguing aspect was how expertly he concealed the body, allowing a wealth of forensic evidence and DNA to remain intact. Investigators were eager for a quick breakthrough that could lead them to the killer. Their hopes were shattered when the results revealed that no DNA had been discovered on her body. They chose to delve into the evidence discovered with Leanne, Detectives discovered a dog hair on Leanne's clothing, leading them to believe they could extract a DNA profile from the pet and track down the murderer. The strands were dispatched to a Texas university renowned for its groundbreaking DNA profiling method tailored for purebred animals. The university managed to create only a fragmentary profile for the canine DNA. This marked the initial instance of acquiring a canine DNA profile in a case within Britain. However, without a corresponding dog for comparison, the findings were ultimately set aside. The knitted scarf discovered around Leanne's neck held significant intrigue. Within the knot lay strands of human hair. The evidence was sent for DNA analysis, and they successfully developed a DNA profile from the tiny traces of DNA found within the hair shaft. The profile was submitted to the national database, yet it yielded no matches. Following that, the detectives focused on the dog collar that had been utilized to secure the black bin liner around her neck. A Nottingham-based company known as Armitage Leather Products were responsible for its creation. Detectives believed that if the murderer had purchased the collar from their store, it might be able to uncover his identity or location. The company was reached out to, revealing that it distributed to 220 various wholesalers throughout Britain and provided their sales documents to law enforcement. Investigators embarked on the challenging mission of reaching out to each individual, inquiring whether they had documented any transactions related to the Leeds region of West Yorkshire. They struck gold on the 112th call. The organization went by the name Pet's Pajamas, based in Liverpool. The mail order company had successfully sold 3 of the Armitage leather dog collars in Leeds. Investigators received the information about the 3 customers and promptly initiated a thorough examination of their backgrounds. A suspect emerged rapidly from the shadows. John Tayler was his name, and he resided in Bramley, just moments away from the spot where Leanne was last observed.
I saw that from Bramley area in Leeds, some 3/4 of a mile away from where Leanne disappeared, was the name John Tayler.
This wasn't the initial instance where his name surfaced during the inquiry. Upon the discovery of Leanne's body, witnesses recalled seeing him frequently wandering the woods with his dog. When it came time for the interview, he claimed that his dog had passed away well before Leanne was killed. Did Tayler eliminate the pet to cover the truth? Who is John Tayler?
Can you tell me how often you visited Huffley Gill?
I won't been down there for years.
Okay.
It's not somewhere I used to go, certainly not toward the dog affair anyway.
On the surface, Tayler appeared to be just an ordinary individual. At the age of 45, he was employed as a parcel delivery driver for Parcel Force, a branch of the Royal Mail. At the age of 15, his sole offense was the theft of a suit. He was in a marriage that resulted in 2 children, a son who came into the world in 1981 and a daughter born in 1983. In 1996, their marriage came to an end as they finalized their divorce. Tayler appeared to lead a seemingly ordinary existence, residing alone in a terraced house on Cockshot Drive, Bramley, Leeds. Aside from his disturbing penchant for inflicting pain on the animals he pursued, those living nearby considered him just another average guy. Tayler was known for his disturbing acts, having been observed capturing and inflicting pain on rabbits, and there were accounts of him viciously stabbing a fox multiple times. During his time hunting illegally, he took pleasure in mercilessly striking down pheasants. That was one of the factors that led to his wife Janet ending their marriage. In 1982, just after settling into their new residence in Cockshot Drive, Tayler started acquiring and breeding dogs and ferrets. Janet had always taken pride in their home, but the pervasive odor of animal waste started to strain their relationship. She endured it until one day he brought 2 large owls into the house. They subsisted on a constant supply of day-old chicks, which he purchased in the thousands and stored in one of the large freezers located on the property. Janet took the bold step of filing for divorce. Tayler journeyed across the nation frequently, but not for professional reasons. He would post ads seeking female companions and frequently journeyed across the nation for encounters. He frequently engaged with Lonely Hearts advertisements. Using his phone records, investigators initiated the process of locating several of these women for interviews. While many viewed him as innocuous, a few confessed to having contacted law enforcement to flag him as a potential suspect following the discovery of Leanne's body and the revelations surrounding her murder. Two in particular illustrated the portrait of a man who relished brutality during moments of intimacy. He had even expressed to one woman his desire to engage in intimate relations with her 15-year-old daughter. Her former girlfriend ultimately ended her relationship with Tayler due to his interest in bondage. Tayler would restrain her hands with cable ties and cover her face with scarves. When investigators inquired about how Tayler restrained her, she revealed that he stored a collection of cable ties in a drawer beside his bed. He would fasten a plastic cable tie around each of her wrists, then bind both her hands behind her back with a third cable tie connecting them. It was eerily reminiscent of the way Leanne was found, and the details have remained undisclosed to the public. 10 months following Leanne's mysterious disappearance, Tayler found himself in police custody, facing intense interrogation. A warrant was executed to obtain his DNA, and a thorough search of his property was conducted. Authorities swiftly cordoned off the residence on Cockshot Drive, erecting towering wooden barriers, and initiated an exhaustive investigation of the premises. In the backyard, investigators discovered a hedge plant, a plum tree, and a poplar tree. Pollen matching these plants was found on Leanne's hair, skin, and within her nasal tract. She had visited that place prior to her tragic demise. As they excavated the garden, a chilling discovery awaited them. The remains of numerous animals, including 28 ferrets interred in a mass grave, and the skeletal remains of 4 dogs. Among them, a tan and black terrier bore the haunting mark of a crushed skull. Did Tayler resort to killing his dog as a means to conceal his identity upon discovering that law enforcement was searching for a man accompanied by a dog? The terrier's hairs were analyzed and confirmed to match those discovered on Leanne's body. The flooring lay bare, revealing the stark emptiness of the room. Upon further examination, detectives discovered pink carpet fibers snagged on the nails embedded in the floorboards. The fibers matched perfectly with those discovered on Leanne's body. Leanne's blood was discovered hidden beneath the floorboards of the house. The twine used to bind the green bin liners around Leanne's body was traced back to a manufacturer in Devon. They informed investigators that it was part of a small, one-off batch created for making nets intended for catching rabbits. The twine discovered in Tayler's residence perfectly matched that which was found on Leanne's body. A significant quantity of yellow zip ties was discovered in his residence. The yellow zip ties, distinct from the usual ones, are manufactured by an Italian company specifically for the Royal Mail. Tayler, employed by Parcel Force, a branch of Royal Mail, had convenient access to them. In the chilling discovery, authorities uncovered a similar garbage bag entangled with a nail in John's kitchen. On the property, there were 3 massive freezers. Initially, Tayler claimed he had no connection to Leanne and insisted he hadn't harmed her in any way. When the detectives laid out the extensive evidence they had compiled, he confessed to the abduction of Leanne, yet insisted that her death was unintentional. Tayler recounted that once he brought her into the house, a confrontation ensued, resulting in Leanne falling and striking her head during the altercation. She was gone in an instant. However, there was a complete absence of evidence indicating a fall. Tayler was at a loss to clarify the reasons behind Leanne's strangulation and the binding of her hands with cable ties. After extensive efforts, investigators managed to piece together a vivid account of the events surrounding Leanne's fate that night. Leanne found herself caught in a situation that spiraled out of control. As she strode down the darkened trail of Hewley Jail, Tayler seized her from behind. Although there were no witnesses to the event, it was subsequently revealed that an individual had perceived a muffled scream. Tayler covered her mouth, blindfolded her with a scarf, wrapped her in a coat, and led her to his house, a journey that took 22 minutes. He bound her hands behind her back and placed her on a weathered church pew in his kitchen, confessing that he had intended to assault her. In a harrowing incident, he used a zip tie and a woolen scarf to strangle her during a sexual assault. He stored her remains in a freezer in his kitchen for several months. Just prior to the discovery of Leanne's body, his friends noted the mysterious vanishing of an upright freezer from his kitchen. Authorities theorized that the vehicle had malfunctioned, prompting Tayler to dispose of Leanne's remains, a pivotal choice that resulted in his capture. On February 15, 2002, 46-year-old John Tayler was convicted of the heinous crimes of murder and kidnapping involving Leanne. He received 2 consecutive life sentences. He is set to spend 20 years behind bars before he can even be evaluated for a chance at parole. Authorities had long believed that Leanne's murder was merely the beginning of Tayler's criminal activities. The method he used to conceal and eliminate the body was chillingly precise. They were correct. Once law enforcement obtained Tayler's DNA profile in the database, 2 assault cases that had been under investigation were connected to him. On October 18, 1988, a chilling incident unfolded when Tayler, equipped with a mask and knife, launched an attack on a 32-year-old woman who was simply crossing Hewley Jail to collect her children from school. On March 1, 1989, the second event unfolded. Tayler, masked and armed with a knife, stormed into the home of a 21-year-old mother in Bramley. He pulled her into the bedroom and launched his assault, removing her clothing, covering her eyes, and silencing her before the attack, while her 18-month-old daughter wept in the adjacent room. Tayler was given an additional 2 terms. In the years that followed, law enforcement conducted a thorough examination of unsolved cases nationwide that bore resemblance to Leanne's. In 2018, the shocking details of Tayler's heinous crimes were revealed as he confessed to a disturbing pattern of assaults on 5 women and children spanning from 1977 to 1996, during the year of 1984. Tayler seized the innocent child, just 7 years old, and brought her to the abandoned churchyard where he committed his unspeakable deeds against her. Months after the horrific incident, he would hover outside her home, casting a chilling presence that sent shivers down her spine. In a harrowing scene, he brandished a knife at the throat of a pregnant woman, forcing her into a humiliating situation as her 3 young children watched in fear and despair. In 1977, just before the holiday season, he assaulted a barmaid. Tayler confessed to this heinous acts and received a life sentence with no chance of parole. John Tayler is fated to spend the rest of his life in prison. He is presently serving time at the notorious maximum security Wakefield prison, often dubbed Monster Mansion. This location is linked to a variety of infamous offenders who have committed horrifying deeds.
It's not very nice sitting there knowing that somebody's actually done this to your child. I do feel a kind of connection with families that are actually in the position that I was in before they actually caught John Tayler. The fact that I actually know who killed Leanne didn't make things any easier for me. But then again, I suppose if I didn't know, I would be wanting to know.
Tayler is suspected of nearly 10 reopened cold case murders. Yvonne Fitt, 33, was found dead in a shallow grave 100 yards from Leanne in 1992. 13-year-old Lindsay Reimer, who disappeared after an errand and lived 20 miles from Tayler in Bramley. Her body was found in a canal 5 months later. Leeds railway station burned Deborah Woods. She was found in bin bags and bedding after cold storage. Dead Bradford prostitute Rebecca Hall. Others. Tayler may have committed more murders and assaults, but his beginnings are unknown. He escaped for so long. How? Leave a comment. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Post questions or comments below. Like and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing and thought-provoking content. See you next time.